it's a fact that he tends to lose the ball in possession. It's with his passing.
Who? Vasquez?
Brendan Vasquez, yes.
Okay.
And it's not so much he can't make passes. He has made great passes in matches. But what I'm saying is in the typical run of play, he will tend to lose the ball.
Which is a massive
more
thing.
often.
Massive
Right.
at the international level. If you can't hold the ball, you can't play. No matter what you can do, because of the fact that you will never get to do what you are best at if you can't hold the ball. We've had a lot of guys in the past. That Josh Sargent is one that I think hasn't always held the ball up well for the national team either, or learned to use his body in hold-up play that I think stands out. So I agree with you.
Okay. So here's my favorite part of the show, just for me. This is where I announced that I think Brandon Vasquez is going to be our next guest on Thursday's show. Let's go. I cannot wait.
Hey, I've already had a conversation with him.
I'm just saying. I can't wait. I can't wait. I want to see how Charlie.
Charlie went and knocked on Brandon Vasquez's room and said, "Listen, man. I said you weren't good enough to be an all-star. One of those players that was better than you, dropped out. Therefore, you became good enough to be an all-star. And as Brandon's closing the door to his hotel room going, hey, man, just like, let me chill. Charlie puts his foot in the door to like keep it open a little bit and leans his head inside and is like, yeah, and you lose the ball too much. You know? You got to hold the ball.
Keep it simple, baby. Keep it simple.
What I'm saying is I'm rooting for the kid. He's a good kid. I'm not going to lie. Having a conversation with him. You think about having a conversation with a
how do you enter into that conveation? You put your arm around him, you're like, listen, I'm Chuck Wagon Davies here.
Yeah. Probably said, you want the good news or the bad news?
Yeah. It was
the good news, you get to spend time with Charlie Davies. That's me. The bad news is you got to hold the ball better.
It was an interview, and I'm sitting down with him, and the way it came about was I'm gonna address the elephant in the room, right? I'm not gonna be one of those guys who hides behind his words. I said, Brennan, you're an all-star. Congrats on an amazing season. But when it comes to the national team, I think that you have to develop in a couple of different areas of the game. One in particular is keeping the ball and connecting passes, because you can't lose, especially in a game where England, you're getting dominated. All of a sudden, the ball comes up to your feet, and let's say it's John Stones or whoever right on your back. You can't give the ball away. It comes right back down, and then you're chasing for another 5 to 10 minutes. I said, so in those instances on the international stage, keeping the ball and connecting passes are super important, sometimes way more important than anything else. Maybe more important than his fantastic runs, which he's been making with FC Cincinnati. So if you can improve in that area, and the pass percentage needs to come up, then you will make that the adjustment to the national team will be much easier for him. And he looked at me in the face. He's like, you're right. I do need to improve there. Like, that for me was, man, maturity, understanding, and he was just a good person. He talked about the things that he does do well, the things that he needs to improve on. So I also got the chance to talk to Jesus Ferreira, and I was like, hey, you got the key right now. You are the striker.
Put the pressure on.
If the World Cup started tomorrow,
come on our podcast.
Yeah, I'll get him on. I said if the World Cup started tomorrow, he would be the starter. Just based on form alone, he would be the starter. And then you throw in the fact that he's been with the group. What do you need?
Greg likes him. Greg likes him.
And what do you need to do to keep that key? And he just talked about continuing to perform. One, he bagged another brace for San Jose, but just changing up his game, being a little bit more unpredictable. I think he has done that. The only problem with Jesus Ferreira is on the All-Star game, if you're the starting 9 for the national team, then I expect you to be starting or on the pitch. You're at the 9. He's playing in the left wing. He's playing on the right wing. And then with Dallas, sometimes he's playing the 10. He's not playing the 9, or he's playing a false 9. I'm like, hey, if you're playing the star striker for the U.S. men's national team, you better be at the 9. So I think with Leggett, now you're going to start to see him playing at the 9, and you have Areola on one side. I like the options that he has.
No, it's going to be interesting to see, and I love that you had those conversations with those guys and we're being real with them. I think they would show you a different type of respect based on your experience, but then also your insight. So as much as we give you a hard time, we love that you're planting seeds of just helping get better as players, Charlie. So let's talk about a couple of managers that are taking the piss. Christian Pulisic played 6 minutes for Chelsea. And then we have Ricardo Pepi came on and played for 1 minute in Augsburg's surprising 2-1 win against Bayer Leverkusen.
Which is not good.
No.
It's the writing's on the wall there. I mean, that's not going to – when you're young –
what do you do? I feel like Ricardo Pepi's – like if these other guys start to emerge, Heath, Pepi could be out. He might have to make the team.
Here's where it gets a little difficult because circumstantially, I wasn't a striker. I wasn't a teenager when I went to Germany, but I was I think I was 22 years old. And you're in a relegation fighting team. And I say this about Mark McKenzie too, right? Where he's at Genk. If he doesn't play, where do you go? Like for maybe for a striker, somebody can take a flyer on you and you go somewhere else for 6 months, but you're still going to be expected to get in right away. And you're going to be judged at the national team level of can you score goals? Mark McKenzie is more of if he can go on loan. He played over the weekend, but didn't start in their first few. He's going to have to go on loan. But where do you go from Belgium, right? One of the bigger Belgium clubs. But where do you go from there? You're not going to be able to go bigger, probably, if somebody's going to take a chance on you. Not. You're paid a high wage because you were bought and brought in. You're a national team player, so the expectations are there. And so it's a difficult situation for Ricardo Pepi. But in Germany, it's different because he's in a situation where they're always going to – Steve Trundle said it. They're always going to rely or default back to the experienced players that they know are going to keep that coach's job. That coach wants to keep his job and get the points that they need. Now they got 3 points after getting battered by, I think was it Freiburg in the opening weekend. They get 3 points, scrapping that out against Leverkusen. And so you think Ricardo Pepi's going to be a starter now that they got points against Leverkusen, who finished third last year? No. And to get a scrap minute at the end of the game, I mean, yeah, it's okay. We can say the same about Pulisic because he plays the final minutes after an injury.
Big difference.
Comes in for an injury. Yeah, but that's a big difference. For Ricardo Pepi, I just don't see what's going to change. You get battered, you're not a starter, and your team doesn't score. You're not a starter. You come in the last minute. I mean, what can you do in that situation, especially being young and where your mindset is weak? It's hard to be really strong at that age, no matter how good you are.
I feel like when I hear you talking about Pepi, you could almost say the same narrative for Christian Pulisic. Like the writing's on the wall. He's not Thomas Tuchel's guy. And apparently Newcastle had some of their people in the stands at Stamford Bridge to watch this game. And now there's talk of him potentially coming to Newcastle. I don't know if he's going to accept that or if he wants to go. I'm very curious to see how they build around him there because they already have a couple pieces in that space already with Alain Saint-Maximin and Miguel Almiron. But what are your thoughts,
Sean? This, Jim. When Everton gets a bid for Gordon and Chelsea's trying to get him for around
for 50 million or something, 40, 50 million.
Yeah. I'm telling you right now, which is a position that Christian plays.
Yeah, Anthony Gordon. Mm-hmm.
You got to go. And I've been saying this from the very beginning. It was evident that Thomas Tuchel didn't rate him properly. Like, didn't give him the credit or the respect that he deserves for what he's able to do on the pitch.
It felt like he did for a while, though, but something changed, and I don't know what that was. It feels like there was some
like one injury?
Well, yeah, maybe being injury prone, but I mean, he's not alone and isolated in that. They had plenty of guys that get injured all the time. I don't know. It's really fascinating for me.
He needs to make a move. If he wants to play regular minutes, he needs to leave.
Yeah, that's 100%. It's just a matter of, is it the right fit for him to go? Like, you're going to go to a new system, go to a new coach, potentially go to a new country. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different things that the grass might not be greener making that move. And you're already settled at Chelsea. You kind of know what you're going to get. You're still training at a high level. I don't know.
But here's my take on just this in general. Sterling missed chances. Havertz missed sitter. Like Christian Pulisic, he's going to the bench the next game for that. Now, if they rotate him in, maybe it's that natural rotation after a few games, and you're tinkering like Tuchel does. But can he sustain in that? I'm not really sure. And those players, I think he's not.
He's going to get games. To your point, he's going to get games. There's so many games to play. They play like Wednesday, Saturday. Once the Champions League starts, it's going to be crazy for them. Chuck.
I'll just say, I mean, it's just absolutely not. If Sterling missed for sitters for 5 straight games, no matter what, Raheem Sterling is the guy. That's not happening. Kai Havertz, it seems like, is the guy for Thomas Tuchel. Christian Pulisic, for him, he needs to make a move to a club when you analyze a situation where he will be relied on to be a game changer, whether it's goals, assists, just being one of the attacking players that a team has to rely on. That's where he needs to go. At the end of the day,
they're trying to bring in Aubameyang as well.
I know.
Right.
It's crazy.
Chelsea's not it for him. I mean, that's what it comes down to. The problem is I don't think clubs can really afford him at this point. So it would have to be a loan, right? So then it's trying to scramble, because right now there's a lot of clubs that have played a couple games, 1 or 2, and they're saying, hey, we're deficient in this area. So now we got to kind of make a panic move. That could probably play right into Christian's hands.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think there will be a move for Christian Pulisic in some capacity. I don't think he can stay with Chelsea. The one saving grace I would say about his situation is just like I mentioned when I interrupted rudely, is when they're going to have a lot of games. They're going to have League Cup. They're going to have Champions League. They're going to have the Premier League. He's going to get some minutes. There's going to be some rotation with him in it. Right, exactly right. So can he be the guy somewhere else and get more valuable minutes? My only concern with Newcastle, very quickly, is that when Eddie Howe brought in Bruno Guimaraes, who is clearly a baller and better than most players on the team, he sat him for like the first 6 or 7 games because Newcastle were on this terrific run and didn't want to change up the lineup. It's super old school. And Bruno's obviously got the goods. And then Sven Botman, they just signed him. He didn't play for the first, game or 2 either because I don't know. It's just like Eddie Howe's thing. So I worry about, okay, Pulisic goes and then we want to see him play right away, and he just might not as it pertains to that particular team. Who knows though? Maybe the rules will be a little bit different for our American star, as it were.